Recording. Welcome to the environmental management meeting of February 16th, 2022. Still having to say that year. We are quorum, although I think we are two commissioners a little later. But to be a role of who is looking across on my screen, I see John Olson to my, well, who knows? Yes, corner, John, District 4. Rick Gaff, District 8, side of me. Fulton from District, welcome. And what else have we got? So you showed up from District, Lee McIntosh. Lee, thank you for connection. This with District 6. Any other commissioners showed up? I know that Melissa Cardwell and Carrie Ho PE are not going to be able to make this meeting. So I'll announce if I see Elise Robinson join the meeting, but I will declare quorum at 9:06 a.m. Our first agenda item is the approval of the meeting minutes that we had to defer, I think because we didn't have enough people at the time who had actually attended the special meeting on January 7. That was a hearing that we began on an appeal of the decision of the Director of Environmental Management, and those minutes were contained in from last month's meeting. And could I have a motion to accept or approve is the right word, the January 7, 2022 special meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Rick. A second. D. Fulton. Any discussion, corrections? Hearing none. We'll take a vote. Kara, do you want me to do that as a roll call?
I don't think so. I think just
Okay.
Commissioner Olson is recused from the January 7th special meeting vote.
Right.
Correct. Yes, he was recused from the special meeting and therefore voting on the minutes of that meeting. Are there any nays on this meeting minutes from commissioners? All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Okay, seeing unanimous approval of the January 7 meetings minutes. The January 26th was our last full meeting, which seems like only last week. And the minutes are in our folder for this meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of January 26th?
So moved.
John, thank you. A second?
Second.
Second by Rick Gaffney. Any discussion of those minutes?
I've got one correction on page 12. The second paragraph was the discussion that I was having with John about compost. And it says West Hawaii, and it should be East Hawaii.
Did you get that, Peter?
Yep.
Thank you. Any other corrections? Can I get John to modify motion to be adopting the minutes as amended?
As amended, yes.
And second,
Second,
thank you. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Any nays? Thank you. Minutes of January 26th are approved. Statement from the chair is our next agenda item. Just welcome to another crazy year. Do the best we can to get through it. And just encourage everybody to be as resilient as you can be to the constant changing situations that we deal with. Next on the agenda are public statements on items on the agenda. And Peter, do we have the one testifier?
I don't see any. If anyone wants to testify, please speak up now.
Okay, hearing if we call with a testifier shows up later, give her an opportunity to participate. On 5, unfinished business. I'm renewing priorities for the wanted to these priorities. Each of us individually as commissioners and are going to try to make an effort to get some advanced issues to the commission, informational item, be thinking offline basically on how we can better help DEM and the council to manage the environment. So these items we'd set up last time. I asked for any additions or corrections and open it again to if there are any new items or some old ones that you feel like you've succeeded or really wasn't that big of a priority, please let me know. Anyone have any comments at this time? Rick Gaffney? You're muted.
Sorry. You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, there's basically 3 areas that I've been working on in my district. And one of those is getting Honokaha Harbor sewered. And I just wanted to relay to the group that that process is moving fairly well at the state level. It's a state process. And the money seems to be available. The engineering's underway. Forward. The third thing that I have interested in for a long time, the idea of being able to move Kealakekee wastewater treatment plant, the ag park at the bottom of Kaiminani. Is there leased ag park, but there is also hundreds and hundreds of acres of ag around the ag park for future expansion. So there is, I believe it's 400 acres of land, which is also zoned agriculture. So it's an obvious opportunity to distribute R1 farmers get expensive water. I've recently learned that the idea of connect the wastewater treatment one distribution system along on a to the ag park is no longer a priority of the administration. It was of a previous administration. And I'm going to continue to push because it's just so logical that if we're producing tons of R1 water and we don't have a market for it, that we deliver it to people who can use it and hopefully expand agricultural opportunities as part of that process. So I'm going to continue to pursue that option as well.
Okay. Any other comments? And consider this a living document. If you've got new things that come up, feel free to let me know. But this will just be a published document so people know, hey, I know that Melissa's working on this, and let me go talk to her, or suggest who she might talk to help get information. I added a couple of items, took former Commissioner Pequeño off the list. But one of the things that I wanted to continue to work on, which obviously I've been putting on the agenda many times, is sustainable funding for DEM, both solid waste and wastewater programs. And I'll keep pushing on that. And also note that there was an interesting webinar that I listened to. I think Senna also was there. I don't know if anybody else from DEM that was looking at how you could use a surcharge on tipping fees to fund your recycling operations. And there were several states, Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina, New Jersey, and a couple others, of how they had laws established that said there would be this surcharge and it would be used to fund this, that, and the other. And a chunk, not a huge chunk actually, for many of them, would go to developing their recycling programs as a steady way. It was a fund specifically dedicated to the recycling operations and other environmental issues. It was very interesting, but it also struck me that one of our issues is we let more than half our waste go to the landfill for free, hidden in property tax. So to put a surcharge on people who don't even know they're paying for the landfill fees will be an interesting challenge for us. But that's one that I think I'll tuck away. And if any of you are interested, I can forward to you some of the links they had for background information. And the title of the thing was surcharges and tipping fee surcharges to support infrastructure for recycling. And infrastructure is something that we have pitifully little of. So that'll be a new continued, I should say, effort of mine to try and figure out how we get funding. And if nobody else has any comments on it, feel free to send things to me at any time, and I'll update that list. Next is the status report on the barriers to private recyclers permitted interest group. I'm the only member who's on it that is here at this meeting, and I have to unfortunately say, we haven't done much since the last time, so I don't really have anything to report. We are still collating issues, and I think a lot of it is just the raw material and the logistics of getting it to them is a concern because of the kinds of things that is able to collect. Senna, I don't know, but, or if you'd like to comment on, she's assist Mr. K finding location on the offer services and not just crowded location. He's got,
No, I haven't. I've been trying to set.
okay. Yeah, I mean,
Literally
setting up
the same
meetings
thing.
and just talk to them has been challenging over
Very
the
much
last
so.
couple of weeks, I have to say. Okay, so that'll remain. And I should, going back to list, I'll each time, each meeting, whether anybody's got a report of interest. And we could certainly want to share with the group, send it out to everybody. New business. For new business, we have, and actually what's been taking up a fair amount of my time, and I know of DEM, is reviewing all the legislative bills that have been introduced in the environmental arena. I think the statistics that Peter Sir pulled up for us said that there were 67 different bills that kind of directly dealt with DEM issues that they were tracking, and then going through hearings and getting testimony and making revisions on the fly, that only 23 of them appear to still be moving, have some legs. Whether those 23 will get through it, I'm not an expert on the political process here, and be happy to let either Ramsey or Peter pipe up on that. But there again are several layers of hearings and reviews, and each of you individually has an opportunity to submit testimony as individuals, not representing EMC, but as individuals, what your opinions are. And they do read them, they do pay attention. Nicole Lowen has introduced several of the bills, and is someone I think who listens. And we'll see some of these bills carrying over into future years. Oh, and I see a note from, I assume Peter Surrey's trying to get Steve Bader on the line. He is the mayor's office, I think, representative to the tracking the state legislation and things that are on tap. But what I would like to ask is whether, Ramsey, I see your name twice on this screen. Oh, and a picture, very good. If you or Senna, or hopefully we could get Steve Bader on the line to talk about the bills that you in particular as DEM are trying to support, and in particular whether or not now's the time that EMC wishes to submit some letter in support or against, opposed, what those should be. Do you want to go through, it was one of the attachments in the reference folder for this meeting, a list of 7 different bills.
Right, definitely. We, from a wastewater and solid waste, we have been tracking certain bills. Senna could probably give us a rundown on the one that she would love to see go through from a recycling point of view. And then definitely, we talked about it last time, and we said probably the best guy to give us an overview for the whole county, Steve Bader. We extended the invitation and hope Peter could get him hooked up to this meeting at least, so you guys could hear from him as well. And Senna, you want to give us some update in your favorite bills? that we're trying to-
Sure. I will say very, very sadly, the increase in the ADF glass fee died again. It's, for those of you unfamiliar with it, it's the advanced disposal fee program set up over 27 years ago, and we still get the same amount, 1.5 pennies. I'm part of the all county diversion Hui, kind of an informal group, and we all supported it together. DOH was behind us. Henry over on Oahu with City and City, he calculated that the true cost overall is about 5 cents per container. I don't know how he came up with that number, but we had asked, and then we made a final pitch last night to Senator Gabbard's office. Please, it's a very simple bill. Anyway, it died, so I don't know. We'll start. I don't know what we're gonna do, but starting next session to lobby earlier and heavier and get everyone on board. So it's kind of crazy. I really don't know what happened yesterday. The HB 2399, the EPR bill from Lowen's office. I think there was a hearing on that yesterday afternoon. So I cannot comment on that. What is still alive is I think it's 2999 composting. It's about changing, allowing for composting in ag zoned districts. So this kind of goes hand in hand with, there's the county with us working with R&D, they're doing most of the work. About 8 coalition members are applying for a very, very, very large grant from the EDA, Build Back Better. R&D was able to successfully get an amount phase 1, and so now we're working on phase 2, which is it's a big, huge endeavor. So, and this composting would support that. It's looking at decentralized composting around the island more, and it's in the relevant districts that kind of overlap with council districts, but just the different geographic districts on the island. So I really support that one. And I'm not as prepared as I didn't know that I had to give the full updates, because as you know, with January, this trying to stay on top of getting testimony in January is just the craziest month for us. I don't know also where the e-waste was. That had to do with supporting, I think it was moving forward. Just similar with EPR, just getting more money up front from the manufacturers, because at the end of the day, you know, end of life, we, the counties, are left to be dealing with the goods. So as with the ADF glass, we need more money, you know, especially, you know, there's a new TV design that comes out every 6 months and everyone buys a bigger, better, you know, and same with computers. So those all, they're from that, but they all also need proper. And I think, I don't know where the waste, is that still alive, Ramsey? The 336?
That is,
Oh.
we could, the bills quick, 14 for DAV, which is the abandoned vehicle section. That bill, instance requirement, it's a countywide bill to allow, and then what is that? The county could be able to tow the vehicle. So that definitely our whole division or section. 1413, that's the same vehicle outstanding charges that allow the director to be able to deal with that abandoned vehicles. 1414, also that, you know, it talks about the abandoned vehicles, repeat offenders, penalties. So, you know, we will keep abandoning these vehicles, and so there's a penalty would be set aside for repeat offenders. The 1640, that's what Senna talked about, is electronic devices manufacturers, televisions, recycling and recovery. So the idea is they're trying to change that in Recycling and Recovery Act to the Electronic Device Recycling and Recovery Act. So they change in the name to include more electronics as technologies are changing. So more of these electronic devices are what have you. So they try to encompass more wider spectrum of what they could recycle into that act. 1992, that's the one that about composting, kind of bill number is HB 1992 about agriculture districts allowing them to do composting and decentralized composting. That actually comes to play for our DEM because as you guys know, we were thinking about in the prior administration, they focused into centralized composting facility on the east side where all the waste and green waste, somehow somebody magically has to transport across the island to one location without understanding the cost and without understanding how bad it's going to impact the environment. Imagine all these trucks, vehicles. Just think about us now moving waste from east to west, and it's becoming a nightmare. So imagine take that countywide from each district to start moving the organic food and the green waste to one location on the east side. It just going to become more complicated. So we were talking about decentralized, more efficient systems. So that's something we need to start looking at. This bill definitely could lead us thinking about, what do we need to do to be more efficient when it comes to composting. Decentralization, it could be the key. We also need to start encouraging homeowners to go back to figuring a way to find a composters that we could hand out to these homeowners and encourage them to do the same. It's so funny, I was in California last weekend and because they under mandate organic food by 2035, I believe, they're supposed to have zero going to a landfill. So they start following what the county of Hawai'i was doing years ago. They start telling people you need to start composting at home. With the California residents because they spoil, so they wanted somebody else to take care of that for them. But it's unfortunate, but it's ongoing battle in California. But I think we've been fortunate here. Our residents went through the exercise before, and they love to do that. So we need to find a way to start encouraging that process again. The 2147, it's the federal municipal solid waste. That's only just to allow Department of Health to permit the federal facilities. That just to see where it goes. Definitely 2399, extended producer responsibility. I think that one, Santa supported last year and we're going to continue supporting this year. SB 2998 about the deposit for beverage container program. That also, I think Santa had covered that one under recycling. The one we really been watching for the Hilo waste treatment plant, the 3363 to allow authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds by the state of $50 million to allow us to subsidize the replacement of the Hilo facility plan. So hopefully we should be able to, most of you guys probably seen the Hawai'i news about the Hilo treatment plant. It's really, we got 13% lifespan on it. It is our top priority, is #1 priority now. in addition to the other priorities, I heard Greg said, for the west side is not as high priority as it was for prior administration. That's not a true statement, Rick. It's still high priority, but it's not ranked one high priority. So they all still priorities to us, but Hilo is, it become an environmental crisis if we don't pay attention to it right away. That's why it's on our top radar. We're trying to get it going before it become environmental crisis. 13% operational facility is not adequate, it's not acceptable. So, and that's why we're focusing on protect from potential 3 million gallon of water potentially spills in the ocean. So that requires immediate attention. We're looking at possibly a $200 million project. We're trying to find the funding. We're trying to work with people, trying to get that project going as soon as possible. So we watching and we supporting 3363. The last one is 1411 about motor vehicles and registration. So we just been keeping an eye on that one as well. These RDM is being monitored. Paying attention. I see Steve maybe online.
Is Steve Bader on the line?
No, not
I think
yet.
it's a different.
Okay.
We each individually can provide testimony, and I did just do a quick check, I think, of the 2399 bill on the EPR. Yep, and somebody else looked at it. If you look in the chat, the EPR for packaging was approved by the CPC, I think, or CDC, all these initials. It's the Consumer Committee. How many more loops it's got to go through, I'm not quite sure. One thing that I personally commented on, I think it's going to be quite a bear to work out the details of. And I also, having formerly worked for a multinational company, know that it is a large pain to have to deal with 50 and maybe multiply that by however many counties there are in the United States, different laws, and worried as a consumer what's going to be blocked from sale in Hawaii because we've got some extraordinary regulations, but it can be worked on. It has a long effective date put in there, realizing, I believe, that there will be a lot of details that need to be worked out with multiple stakeholders. But bottom line is, for any of these bills, if you think that it would have impact for the DEMs, or for EMC in particular to provide testimony, or whether we just stand behind you, Ramsey, and go, good luck.
Well, like I said, any support that EMC gives DEM is very greatly appreciated. So you heard the bills that we support as I went through them. Definitely, if you guys feel any other bills that DEM has overlooked, please let us know as well, so we could be on the same page in supporting what you guys wanted to achieve.
Can I
Steve,
clarify, Ramsey, I didn't mean to demean the R1 upgrade at the plant. What I was attempting to say was that I had been working for when I first came on the EMC to get a transmission line planned into the extension of Anakeohikalole Highway, because that's the logical place to run that R1 line, and also a sewer line from the bottom of Palisades and Kona Acres and all of those subdivisions that eventually need to be sewered. So what I meant to relate there was that in talking to Bobby Command, I've learned that Anakeohikalole is no longer the priority that it once was. And as a result, it's not shovel ready. And therefore it's not likely to be able to access federal funding, which is a disappointment, because it had been my hope all along that that's where the logical place to install the sewer line while the extension was being installed. So I don't have a problem with what DEM is doing with the R1 upgrade at the plant. My concern is making sure that we have customers for that R1 water, and the logical customers in my mind are the ag zone lands at the end of Anakeohikalole.
Yeah, we just had a Zoom meeting yesterday with Parks and Recreation because, you know, we're only going to generate 1 to 1.8 million gallons per day. As you guys all know, that's not a lot of R1 water to go around. So the idea is when they were talking about the regional park across the street from the treatment plant, where the current sump is, to use that R1 water for the regional park. So the idea is, you know, we have some certain amount of money that was set aside through SRF funding to do the design of that dual piping system going across the street. So we're going to try to encumber that this year. Our wastewater division is working on securing that fund to do the design of the R1 dual pipe system across the street to go to the regional park or do it to the north. So that is being worked on. And I think they estimate that they're probably looking at 1 MGD for that regional park. So we don't have, you know, the commitment. Unfortunately, we don't have enough customers that connect to our either the west side facility or the east side facility. Definitely, this is unsustainable. So we need to find a way. We need to work with you guys and us and the administration to find ways to start increasing the amount of customers, because that mean in return we have better revenue to do our O&M projects. So with that said, even with that means we will increase the amount of our R1 water, because that means we'll get more NGBs coming to the plant. So till we get there, then you're right, then probably we could tap to more customers. But 1 MGD per day, it's really not enough R1 water even for a golf course. So because, you know, I think one of the golf course we were talking to, they almost in the range of 1.5 to 2 MGD usage. So, and definitely the regional park may be able to consume the entire R1 water that we're going to produce. So, yeah, I mean, you know, mathematically, we have to work within what we got currently to work with.
So what is the status of the regional park? There's been no public discussion about the regional park proceeding.
Yeah, I think they moving with phase 1. Eventually, they don't have, definitely, they're not going to build it all at once, because I think it was like $220 million price tag, similar to the R1 water, $562 million price tag, the one that currently was designed for. So definitely, they trying to build it in phases. Eventually, they're going to get there. but also it's driven by the need for water as well. So we're gonna work hand in hand. We projecting probably within 3 years at least, phase one will be in place. So that's ongoing discussion with them and trying to figure out, how they're gonna fund it and what have you. The big picture here, and the bottom line really comes to funding. You guys all know the county's general fund is only $500 million. So when you have a project like this takes the entire county budget, it's not sustainable for the county to fund such a project, even if they float bonds and heavy, because our debt ratio will go up the roof. So, but that's more to the finance department to talk about it, but just the principle of financing, we need to look a different way to be able to just deliver our projects.
I got a quick question about the use of R1 water in the regional park. Is the county going to pay DEM for it?
Oh, you mean for R1 usage? I don't know. We haven't got there yet, but I would imagine it would be a memorandum of agreement between us and them.
May I suggest, Rick, that you put this on the agenda for next meeting to answer some specific questions and get some background from DEM. We need to stick with our agenda a little bit better here. And Dee's been trying to get a question in. Dee Fulton?
Well, it's somewhat related to this issue. It's about priorities. I think it's very important that the commissioners review our priorities, but that Ramsey share the department priorities. It's very easy for people to grasp the need for repairs or replacement to the Hilo plant because it's a concrete physical structure. If the wall collapses, we're going to have something visual and something really bad happening. What's a little harder for people to understand, I think, is the reality of what's going on at Honokaa Harbor and the perpetual chronic dumping of polluted water into that sump. So that's an ongoing problem that is destructive to our water quality. Those waters on the west side are federally impaired. So I guess I'm just wrapping back to priorities. And so we know the Hilo plant's at the top, but Ramsey, could you share the next two priorities on your list? Do you have a 1, 2, 3? Cannot hear you.
They decided to do landscape today and tree trimming in our new office. And if you guys hear the machines running, my apology. But yeah, Hilo is number one. It's tied to actually Paula and Natalie because under AOC, EBA made it clear we could receive a fine up to $63,000 per day. So definitely that also, it's been a high priority because of just the AOC. And we have another AOC for the pretreatment as well that our staff working on. And these three priorities right now, because it's a mandate under stipulated fines. And then Kalakahe, we have started meeting with the consultant. They're working on the head work and the odor control for that facility because it's way overdue for that Kalakahe treatment plan. So the meeting started with the consultant, so they're working on that. Our staff from the wastewater division also had a Pico Bridge sewer line. As you all know, we under construction of that because successfully, we completed the bypass because it was spilling right into the water stream below it. We in the process of negotiating with Hawaii Dredging the contract on to either move forward with them or rebid that portion of completing the project, but we were successful getting the bypass so we could avoid the continuous spill. So these are the high priority that we've been working on. Kalake is one of them, and the consultants working on the design for these components, and the sand filter, of course, that started as well for the Kalake treatment plant. So these are the top four that really hot on our agenda, and you know, and the guys are working on. Dora just finished a spreadsheet of all of the force main, which kind of took me by surprise. Some of them, they were constructed in the 60s, and so imagine the condition of these DIs that were constructed in the 60s. We need to figure a way of how to fund them, how to do a sewer replacement segments, televise them, prioritize the sewer collection replacement as we move forward as well. Dee, hopefully that answered some of your questions.
Thank you, Ramsey.
Okay, as far as the legislative item on our agenda, if there are any other questions or clarifications from anybody. And one question that I had was where, and I haven't been tracking them all, where the cesspool conversion bills, trying to come up with funding to allow people to convert to sewer to become your customers of the wastewater treatment plants, where those bills are moving or not, and what the barriers to getting assistance to get conversion from cesspools done.
It seemed like Senate Bill 2802, it's coming back to life, which is a good sign. It's trying to set certain fees to all the cesspool users. So that money could be set aside in a certain fund that could help. Maybe that will be good, Drake, because that funds could extend the sewer collection system eventually to allow people to convert to a treatment plant rather than septic or ATU units. So definitely 2802. If you guys have not read it, read it. And if it needs your support, definitely support it, because eventually if we start collecting fund that could somehow offset the cost of these infrastructure for the sewer collection expansion.
Okay. Next up are the proposals to amend the county DEM code. You had hearings on the three amendments that you're working on for trailers and for covering your trucks, and for putting back the residential tipping credit. Can you speak about those, or did
Yeah,
you get...
definitely. The only one, we did 2 public hearings. On the west side, we have 0 attendees. On the east side, we have 4 people attended. We got a handful of comments. So definitely, as far as the trailer ban, I know we got some comments from you guys on maybe the size of the trailer, 6x10 instead of 6x9. And I found out that it has to be 6x9 because of the admin rule requires Did you guys hear me, or that noise is getting too loud?
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine, okay. Because the 6x9, it's really requires a 3 cubic yard. So your limit on trailers, residential trailer, 3 cubic yard. And the reason they use 6x9, not only for the safety, but also for just stay within that 3 cubic yard limit. So if we stay with the 6x9, then I guess we could take it and adopt the rule the way it is now, as was submitted prior to the public hearings. But if we need to do any modification, then we have to start the clock again for 30-day notice and do another public hearing. So I recommend that stick with the 6x9. The people got 6x10, maybe put a board and make sure when you go to the landfill, show that 1 foot is not being utilized, and you should be okay, I would imagine. So it's a matter as long as you just stay within the 3 cubic yard.
Okay. Are there any other changes that you are working on that you would like EMC input on?
Yeah, one of the changes is definitely the retreatment ordinances. So we're doing a lot of change in chapter 21. Bunch of articles within chapter 21 because of that retreatment administrative order of consent that we have. So in addition to that, adding the pre-treatment requirements and how we're going to go about implementation and enforcement, that's also going to reflect the admin rule change as we move forward. So our staff working on both the code change for chapter 21 and the admin rule to allow for the pre-treatment and also to strengthen the code to allow for the county to be able to inspect clean outs on private properties and to also allow to if there is laterals that on private property need to be replaced to allow the residents to take care of it. Otherwise, the county may end up be billing them for the repair. So that also included into that amendment.
I guess I would say it would be helpful for us to see your earlier drafts before the official final proposal, so that we could comment and check in with our district people and businesses as to what impact they may have. Just talking about the general topic is kind of vague for, I think, individuals, but if we could get a draft, I think that would help focus on, figuring out who might be adversely impacted or how it could be tweaked to help people. So
yes, definitely. We'll share with you a draft because it's very important for each one of you to comment on it because this is the opportunity. I know in the past I heard Rick saying, our codes are weak. So now you guys get the opportunity to strengthen them.
right. Yeah, and I think you've said before that the door's open if there are other specific areas that we would like to see some changes. I guess I would ask all of you to look through those rules and think about, are there some things that we as the commission should support
Yes.
with DEM. Okay, another item for the agenda next week, or next month rather. Budget time is coming up. Are there particular issue areas that we should be prepared to support that you don't think you're gonna get far enough with the council? that it would make a difference for us to write a, yeah, we need this money really, really badly, and we're willing to trade off, fill in the blank, to pay for it.
Yeah, budget always is challenged, you know. Our challenge is the funding and financial obligation and staffing. So this year we submitted what we think we need to be at for each division. But, you know, I kept being reminded that there's only one pie that goes for the entire county, and we get a slice of it. So that slice is constrained. So, because we don't have any other way to fund it, because it just comes through certain basket and we get our share from that basket. So we may not get what we asked for, but I'm kind of, we're still working on it and see where that's gonna take us. It would be definitely would tie our hand more of what we need to do and accomplish. Because, you know, I totally understand the logic behind it, because there's so much money comes in and there's so much money need to be delegated to different departments within the entire county, so.
Well, again, if you think that there's some, particularly if there's element that support, good, to let us know, focus our comments. Pass that on when you're like to move item 7. Basically been doing with you is the reports and course is new since our last meeting. You're to us. One of the that I saw a discussion that Mayor Roth come in, whatever they are, said that you guys were looking at throw. Looking at landfill. That you're also working on. Did we lose him?
Well, you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up? Oh, great.
I'm sorry, I had to move offices because I just couldn't hear you. The
Oh,
grinder in front of the window. And they're doing some air conditioning work on this office, so I'm being going back and forth. That's why you see two names on the screen. Sorry.
Sorry about that. You joined John Olson in the bunker.
I should have been in the east side today, but I'm on the west side, so.
Okay, so basically the item that we are on for the report is what's new since the last January 26th director's report that you think we need to know about. And what I mentioned was I'd read an article about Mayor Roth talking to the Cost of Government Commission about various different issues, but in the environmental arena, that you were looking at pay as you throw, perhaps, and that there were some hurdles to looking at public-private programs, whatever the third P is, and previously the Cost of Government Commission had recommended increasing landfill fees. So are there some things that the mayor is trying to push as well for the county that you're participating in?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. What you got? You want me to move? You want?
We're all good. We're all good.
Oh, okay.
With the air.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, so as far as from the latest report that we submitted, you guys heard the mayor priority, definitely private-public partnership, privatization was, one of our top agenda, tried to get private capital funding to come in to assist the county at least in the wastewater business so we don't have to tie up county funding and raise up the debt ratio and what have you. But unfortunately, that bill died. But there is that bill that I spoke about, the 3362, I believe this morning, earlier, that could allow maybe the potential of also anything above $100 million. It could allow private funding where they could come in and, kind of take over the design, construction, and maybe the maintenance, but not the operation. Because definitely with the Kona decisions, we're not gonna be able to do to pass any bills to allow this administration at least the private-public partnership. Kudos to Mayor Mitch. He tried the day that he took office, and we tried, and we still continue trying to figure a way how to get our hand into the private funding so we could at least start getting into a better infrastructure system as far as the wastewater collection system, R1 system, the treatment plant, facilities, and what have you. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop. I know we're still working, trying to facilitate between communities that wanted to connect to a nearby private facilities. We're not gonna just raise our hand and give up, but we're gonna try to make deals and assist our communities to be able to deserve what they get, to get a treatment facility treating their wastewater rather than cesspools and septic tanks. So we're going to continue facilitating between private wastewater facilities and our constituents, our communities. So landfill fees, definitely, we trying to figure out how we could generate more revenue to be able to pay and offset the cost of business. I know the Bay As You Throw came about maybe in 2007, and it was turned down. Nobody wanted. I was going through old reports the department had, and so definitely probably need to bring this back to life or set up a system, because we cannot really continue with the status quo. To continue with status quo and expect different results is the definition of insanity, right? So we have to start looking at different ways. Otherwise, we're not going to achieve different results if we stay within the status quo. So we trying. The good thing is we did the interviews for the solid waste division chief, and it seemed like we had really great candidates. They both, we were able to get to interview, but we've been fortunate the two met the qualification and exceeded it, but we haven't yet made the decision. But I think that would be a great asset to the department as we select the chief, because they're going to come in with also great experience to assist the solid waste division to navigate through collection, curbside collection versus Bay As You Throw. But we need to change the system we have to improve on it, of course, to better the service that our customers expect. So that's, I think, some of the updates. I gave you guys a lot of updates on the wastewater and the HELO and the priority. So that kind of adds to that director's report. But if you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to entertain them and that you may have.
And Lee Mack is always asking is for Waiahino.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because Waiahino, we had he inherited all these contracts. Really, it's a mess as the under this administration. Old contract was 18. Current, they are at construction complete, 60% design, and for contract actually ended February. They waiting on us to get the either to decide to continue moving with the same contract, and which is a mess. 4 years on 20% construction complete, it's unacceptable. So I'm revisiting that, and we need to revisit the idea of what's good for that district. Somehow, unfortunately, the habit of this department was getting to signing contract, not understanding the end goal of the contract. So we need to get back into the planning aspect of things. We need to have a roadmap. We cannot sign contracts without understanding what's the end goal is going to be. So our goal is we need to do a plan. We've been talking to Miley David on preference for that district on maybe finding a way either in Waiahino or Ocean View to build a more centralized transfer station similar to the Gila facility, where that district, everybody goes to that transfer station, become the hub for commercial and residential. And then it moves to the West landfill. To me, that's make more sense than keep spending millions of dollars on not having a roadmap. That's true for the Ocean View. The Ocean View site, there was a plan to, build that Ocean View, and we spend money to improve that roadway, and they put a right left turn and left turn to the facility based on DOT requirement. So the idea with that is we definitely need to figure out, we need to sit down with the contractor at Waiahino and figure out, could we save that contract just to do what we need to do to get us just to standard operation, and maybe focus on which side is going to be better for that district, the Waiahino side to become the reload facility or the Ocean View. So that's where we at on it, Lee. It's a great question, but we need to get back into the planning and creating a roadmap before we start spending money in contracts.
Do you have any follow-up, Lee?
When I was on the Cost of Government Commission, it became apparent that doing things they didn't vision of what they wanted to accomplish. I think that's what they need, being involved in planning and what they want to do. For why we think it'd be it's only like
Yeah, I gotta be. I want to get a meeting with the contractor. If we could
We're the only ones breaking up.
You hear me? Or,
Are you, fine, and Ramsey?
I mean, yeah, so definitely, I mean, we have good contractor, we have to work with. But the idea is, unfortunately, you're right, Lee, the vision and the plan and the roadmap is not there. Wai'hina could be a good reload facility, but the challenge with that, you don't have enough distance to accumulate the queue for the traffic. So, because you got a kind of horseshoe type of turn going into the
Yeah.
facility, it's definitely a better facility from geographic location and geology, because it's flatter, easy to construct than the ocean view. But the ocean view also has pros and cons. But definitely any feedback from you guys would help us in determine, you know, for that. That's going to trigger how we're going to fund it as well. So we're going to continue working with, you know, the stakeholders, and hopefully we may come to a resolution of how to move forward.
Okay, I've been requested and some are already taking a bio break. So why
Bio.
don't we take 5 minutes or so and reconvene at 10:22 or so. Thank you. Okay, we are reconvened. Got still a couple people out. Be thinking, I don't know that Ramsey's back yet, but if there are some additional questions you have for him, be teeing them up. Otherwise, let's go to item 8A right now. And we can back up if you've got questions for Ramsey. What do you want to see on the next agenda? Dee brought up a request that fell off the from a constituent, Doug Perrine, and we'll get that on the next agenda. It sounds like there may be some wastewater issues. Rick, did you hear? I'm asking people if they've got thoughts for the agenda next time in March.
Yeah, the subject that we were discussing at the time that you said we ought to agendize is you know, what the parallel timelines are regarding the regional park. You know, at the end of the day, R1 water has value. And if the county's assuming they're getting R1 water for free because the county has, then that's completely the potential business model that comes on water everywhere else in the country. You know, we're aware that Hawai'i interest in buying R1 water. Whether or not that's still remains to be seen, but I think that the whole subject of R1 water be looked at again, and then, you know, the timeline for the park parallel to, or the lack of R1 water, and I think all of that.
Okay. That people would like next time.
Getting about half of this conversation.
You're cutting in and out? Yeah, I hope the recording is recording. I'm not going to be here, but I do think we can talk some more about the concepts of composting and whether it makes sense to take some efforts to start looking harder at the decentralized composting model, as well as what can be done to further support and encourage home composting. I think Senator Berg last time had mentioned Kauai has found that it's really cheap to buy everybody a big bucket that does, or some others. We're not necessarily endorsing that brand per se, but to buy composting, home composting equipment could be cheaper than paying for the landfill of compost waste. So if that's ripe for next time, except I'll have to listen to the meeting because I won't be able to be here. I'm also would like, I don't know if we don't really need permission, but once the new solid waste division chief gets hired, I personally would like to sit down and talk with him about the ISWMP that we put together, as well as thoughts that EMC has had in this whole idea, planning better on how we collect and can collect waste, preferably for reuse and recycle, but lastly for disposal, just so we can start working on him or her for issues that we think are important for solid waste. But now Ramsey's back.
Georgiana, just to add to what you just said, we were very pleased from the candidates that we interviewed. They really did their research and they totally understand our integrated waste, solid waste management plan.
Oh,
Actually, they made it as point of the discussion with certain ideas they have in mind. So that was
great.
Attempt to sit down with him or her to navigate such a thing.
Good to hear. Did anybody else have questions for Ramsey? Scooting back to item 7 on activities.
Yeah, one quick question. Has there been any progress on the notification of the public when the green waste is going to be shut down without any pre-planning? Apparently it happened again on this last Sunday. So I'm just wondering if talk to whoever runs the civil defense notification program to get that out to the people.
Yeah, they try to keep their station to themselves. I guess they cannot overwhelm that channel with our notifications, but we are continuing to work with Mike and our staff to, I don't know, definitely, I mean, the website, the notification that we have, I don't know if we eventually could have our own app system where it allows that app system access to everybody else to access, but that's still in discussion. And we'll see where we take it. Definitely over the weekend, last week, we have actually 5 people out sick. And that's what happened at the west side. We were short staffed. We only were 3 staff members for all the facilities on the west side.
Senna just posted a link in the chat. What's that?
So again, this was building on what Ramsey said, is it's because we have closures and because they're specific to different areas, like not everyone wants to know information about everywhere. It's, you want to know your notification for your transfer stations. So not using civil defense with Everbridge, and the link there, you go on it, you sign up, and then whenever there's a closure on the weekends, which happens a lot in the week, but not a lot, but unfortunately on weekends when there's no admin staff in the office, but it is updated in real time. So there is a system in place, but the missing part is the day of. Unfortunately, if it falls outside of business hours or on weekends, then we can't go through the normal processes of a press release or notifying or getting the information out. But if you sign up here, this is a working system.
Rick, to tag into that, are you signed up with that system?
Yep, I am, but I'm not receiving any notices.
You're not.
Nope.
That's good. That's really good to know.
So we need Senna maybe trying to find out why.
Yeah, I'll talk to Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, the other part to that is if that system does function, then there needs to be some outreach to the public to let them be aware as well. Some people may not want more apps ever, but at least if they know that that's an option, we're serving them better by letting them know that option exists. And but yeah, no, I'm signed up for it, and I've never received a notice saying that any of the transfer stations were shut down.
Well, that's disheartening. So I'll look into that with Mike.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ramsey while we've got him?
Yeah,
Was that John Olson?
yep, it's me. Hello,
Yeah, we hear you.
okay. Yeah, I have a couple questions. One on the Hilo wastewater issues. Has there been any discussion about the possibility of abrupt sea level rise and how that would impact the system? The last time I had any information about it, the complex there was only about 10 feet above sea level. So if you follow what's possibly going on in the Antarctic at the moment and other dire predictions about sea level rise, continuing to support that where it is might be questionable. That was one thing on my mind. The other, it used to be that the green waste trailers had compacting capability, and I don't think that's true anymore. So we possibly are having to haul more than we otherwise would if that were true, still true. The trailers having the ability to compact the green waste to a higher level.
John, these are 2 good questions. We could start with the sea level rise question. Definitely, that is a wider, bigger task that the entire state is looking into. When I was in city and county for Sand Island facility, the designer had looked at the facility and designed the entire facility, $500 million facility, to be about 16 feet above OG, above original ground, to avoid the 6-foot sea rise level in addition to the 8-foot water surface level under FEMA. So that, and you have to keep a 2-foot of freeboard. So that's how they came up with 16-foot level. But what they didn't understand, that every property surrounding that in new design is going to be underwater anyway, and your infrastructure is going to be underwater. So they wasted $200 million designing something that is going to be underwater anyway. So because back to not having a roadmap and a plan of what the entire community need to do to become cohesive. So if you want to look at it, you have to raise the roadway, you have to raise everything up to, you know, to be able to be successful. So what they created, an
Ramsey, I
island
think-
within an island. Go
Ramsey,
ahead.
John Burns has a question, but I think that the issue of sea level rise and the impact on all our facilities is a big one.
It's a
And,
countywide.
and
It's a statewide.
it's
Yeah.
planet-wide, but we could perhaps agendize that for a session. I don't know if it's next meeting or the meeting after that, but John Burns, you had a thought, question?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add to Ramsey's point, it's good to mention how complex it is to assess sea level rise for, you know,
Right.
various buildings or infrastructure, but I just a 3-year grant we were recently specifically look at sea level vulnerability and the 2 Kaha, and then so just so you're aware, will be available that'll have vulnerability,
Mhm.
what areas of the coastline are to be inundated with future. We do actually, we have county, so all that information will be publicly back there for those types of studies. I mean, they're like, so say is that I think the more the things like letters of support or program that they have, you know, those I get it improved.
John, you bring in a good point, because I think I remember getting a Zoom meeting with the NASA people and the mayor's administration. So the county is in support, and we look forward for the scientists within leading that study through NASA to come back and tell us how it's going to impact the Big Island. I know city and county, they've done a lot of report, but unfortunately, they did not coordinate with the FEMA requirement, the water surface from NOAA and FEMA, and the water surface through flooding. And I think, and if you don't coordinate that, because it's so complex, you end up designing something that with the same number. So to me, as an engineer, as a designer, okay, which one is more number, and design something that's 20 feet above ground. So which one? I know the high rise climate change, we're looking at 2050 or the end of the century. FEMA study shows that, yeah, you got to be 8 feet, if you are in coastal area because of flooding. So if the 8 feet larger than the 6 feet, then we need to have the coordination going between these two agencies. Otherwise, it's going to be outrageously costly when it comes to construction.
And again, it's a complex issue, and there may be a good time when it's ripe for us to hear about. And we can have John Burns, our very own member,
Right.
lead the discussion.
A good job.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to help. It's Dr. Haunani Kane, Robin Martin from ASU, and myself for the 3 PIs on that. So anytime
Good.
anyone's got questions, we can give you updates on that.
Thank you,
Great.
John. Good.
And your other question, John, was other John Olson was on compactors.
Right. John, the reason compactors were taken out of trailers, actually also for the waste, because they add weight. And you're so limited on weight limit on the highways. So you'll be hauling all that dead weight of the compactor on each trailers. And I think that's the reason getting away with compact built in within the trailers. It just, yeah.
Lost you.
Did you
I
hear
think
what
he
I?
stopped talking.
It's breaking up.
Oh, no. He said it's a weight issue of the compact. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up too.
I don't. In a message.
Peter, maybe this is Kira Wong, Deputy Corporation Counsel. If you can turn off your video, maybe that would help with the bandwidth, because we have 5 commissioners on camera. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, John, is it any better? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, that helped.
Oh, wonderful. Any rate, if I can summarize what Ramsey said, the compactors in the trailers are basically dead weight and add to the issue of, I would assume, I'm making this one up, going over some of our rotten bridges around the county. And so they took them out in order to be able to carry more mass of waste, both for solid waste and green waste. And I know we've had compactor issues as well, even at
There you go. Break.
there is some logic to it. Senna, I will. Yes, John?
I don't want to get into a long discussion of compactors, but at one point the compactors were stationary. They simply compacted the trailer load, and then the compactor remained on site. So they weren't
Okay,
hauling.
that's a different question of not being in the trucks.
Yeah.
Do you want to comment generally about compactors and their?
No, I don't want to drag you into that.
Okay, good.
But John, the good thing is if we go to decentralized compost, we're gonna be shredding the green waste on site.
Yeah,
Don't have to haul it.
yeah.
There you go. Senna just posted something. Are you there, Senna? Can you read and explain? Oh,
Yep, I'm here, but my mistake.
you're.
So, but I'm
Never
gonna talk
mind.
to Mike. Never mind. So I was just forwarded the press release that came out. Then there's also banners apparently at the transfer stations, but I will definitely talk with Mike. And I'm especially concerned, Rick, that you said that you did not receive any notifications, because that obviously means that there's a fault in the system. So.
Okay, well, as in a distant earthquake, no tsunami. There's always a possibility, if anybody wants a specific topic on the agenda, pass it on to Peter as well as myself. But we'll talk about this next agenda item, but I'm not going to be here. So if you've got a topic, it'll be Rick's to manage in the meeting. The last item under item 8C is that wonderful hearing that we need to reschedule. And I don't know, Peter, if you want to talk about some of the frustrations or possibilities that you've been trying to get at. Fortunately, the Hendersons have been amenable to rescheduling and have a fairly schedule, but we are having challenges getting more than 5 commissioners, as well as the different witnesses that we need to have available for that hearing. So Peter, I'm going to give you the floor.
Hi, this is Peter Sir, the secretary. And Kira will correct me if I'm wrong, but we need 5 members to vote one way, either way, to have a motion to pass that can lead to a decision order, conclusions of law, finding of facts. And so the first time we met, it was a 2-3 vote. So 2 commissioners need to vote 2 more need to vote one way, or 3 need to vote the other way. Is that right?
Sorry,
And
I
so
don't have
we've-
the EMC rules in front of me, so I'm pulling it up. But there needs to be another vote essentially, because a motion didn't carry, so we're starting. There has to be a new motion either way to hold the director's decision or reverse and remand it or modify it of some sort. And so it depends on what that is and how many commissioners are present at the next meeting.
And we have maximum of 8 who are able to vote. And getting all 8 together has been a challenge. And if we have a special meeting, it's going to be the 30-day notice, the newspaper, all over again. Or
20 days.
we could have it during a regular meeting as well.
So were you able to find dates? I know you did the poll. Were you able to find any dates in March?
That was that was inconclusive for all 8 of them. Some didn't reply, so I have to check who replied and tally it up again. But if it's in March, it might have to be later half of it.
Yeah. In addition, I think March is our budget hearing with council members as well.
I think that's April.
Is it April?
Yeah, April 15, 1 p.m.
Well, I guess, the best we can do, I keep try arrange and figure out, have to send out their doodle request to schedule the meeting. You want me there, March, as flexible as you possibly can.
Yeah, just I have to leave each now by 11, but I correct if I go since Lee showed up.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to say for that, I think it would be good we resolve the issue as soon as possible. So I'm happy to make time when we throw out those dates. Yeah, it would just be good to try get as many options, I think, and lock that down as soon as possible. It's already tricky within the work hours of the week to fit the regular meeting in. So yeah, I think you're right. We just got to keep trying, but hopefully we can encourage everyone to try and respond to those polls as fast as possible to just lock something in and plan on it.
Thank you. Okay, Peter, try again. Last half of March.
Okay.
And I think we can move it fairly fast if everybody does their homework and reads through the wad of material that we had from the first hearing. Then we're just asking some clarifying questions of the testifiers. I don't believe anybody has indicated they've got different testimony to provide. So it would be looking at the record and then making our decision. So hopefully we'll try that. And then item 9, announcements. Again, as I've said, I'm not going to be here. I tried. American changed the flights. Anyway, I'm going to be out of the country and out of internet connection. So no help at all. Rick Gaffney, as vice chair, will chair the meeting. And I think we've already identified some agenda items that can go on there. And if there are additional thoughts people have, or if any new information through DEM that you want to cover, please let us know. Otherwise, we are scheduled again for March 16th.
Chair,
Really
I think
unusual.
Commissioner McIntosh, his hand is raised.
Oh, there you are. Yes.
I was going to suggest that for the special meeting for attendance, rather than striving for 8, we should at least strive for 7, because we have a 7, we're going to come up with a decision. With 8, we could have a tie. So if we can't get 8, I think 7 would be just a suggestion.
Georgine, I do think it's essential that we have 8. That's essential.
I think the more commissioners who can show up, obviously, would be the best. But it'll all come down to the motion that's presented and then the vote. So it's hard to say. It could go either way. But obviously, we're going to work to have everybody there. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I want to expound further on this.
All right. Go ahead, Dee.
The current status is that 2 commissioners have voted to support the Hendersons, and 3 commissioners have voted in support of the county decision. So if we only have 7 and none of those 5 change their minds, then it's already predetermined what the outcome will be, if any outcome is achieved. Because there's only one possibility of getting 5 commissioners, and that would
But
be in favor of the county.
That assumes that the same 5 will show up at the next hearing.
Well, that's true, it does.
And somebody might change their mind based on the information that's provided at the next hearing. So it's really hard to say, but I do agree that we should have all the commissioners, if possible, to show up at that next meeting.
I think in theory we can without 8, but as I understand it, we've got one more round that it gives us an opportunity to make the decision. And so we have an obligation to try to make that happen.
Regine, can I ask a question of Kira?
Sure, Rick.
I'm just curious, are any other boards and commissions at the county level, there are a lot of them, require the same level of majority vote that this commission does?
I'm pretty sure all of the boards who have adjudicatory functions have similar rules, like Board of Appeals. They go through this all the time where they're either not able to make quorum or they don't have enough people. They have the same rule that applies, that they carry it over to the next meeting for a second and final vote on the merits. So this is not uncommon. It's just that I think we're just having a harder time finding availability between all 8 commissioners. And I know Commissioner Burns, he has to go. So I would just say, I'll continue to work with Georgine and Vice Chair Gaffney too for the next round. If I need your support in getting other commissioners to respond to the poll, even if we have to do phone calls, we're all working together to get to the end goal.
So let me be clear, none of the other boards and commissions can make a decision based on a simple majority of the quorum. they all have to be a majority of the total number of commissioners or board members?
No, it depends how many commissioners or board members are present at the hearing. That says if there are fewer than 7 present, you need at least 4 votes either way. So it depends how many commissioners or board members are actually there at the hearing, getting the record, reviewing all of the evidence. That specific rule, I'm pretty positive, pretty certain that those adjudicatory boards and commissions have that similar rule.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, the next issue is whether or not we have to find a room. Right now, I believe Kira announced that the governor is continuing to allow Zoom only meetings through
That's-
March.
Yep, March 25th. There might be an extension of that. We don't know, but I think, for our purposes and for Commissioner Olson particularly, it would be good to do a physical location with the connectivity issues. So to the extent Peter can secure a physical location for the next couple of meetings, or at least maybe do similar to what he did today, where Commissioner Olson shows up at the Hilo office, at least for the month, that would be helpful, I think, for him.
Thank you.
Again, things change daily, hourly. We'll just have to see what we can do. Certainly our intent is that we can all hear each other, see each other if we can, and that the public has an opportunity to participate in our meetings. So resilience, that's my theme, resilient, be resilient, and we will make this happen. Are there any other topics that we absolutely need to cover today? Seeing none, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
John Olson,
Second,
second from Rick Gaffney. I hereby declare this meeting done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The vote.
Oh, we got to vote on it. Oh, no. Geez, parliamentarians, what are you going to do with them? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're adjourned now, officially.